Now, if you take a look on the screen here, we want to optimize it further so that we use less steel, but our frame is very strong. Now, if I double click on this member here, you'll be able to see this is 80 by 80 by 6 millimeter. Let me just give it some time, but though we can leave it at that, but you can also use 75 by 75 by 6 millimeter. So let me just get rid of that. Now, if I come here, when I first of all change this to 75 by 75, everything here. Let me just select everything, select all that, and so that I change this to 75 by 75. Now, if I come to profile here and just double click on that, if I double click on that, let me just give some time to load the steel catalog. So I'll come here and click on that section here, and then I'll come to 75 by 75. If you don't get it, we go to another family. So here it seems we don't have 75 by 75. So I'll come all the way down, check if I have 75 by 75. We don't have 75 by 75. Let me just come back and check it from here. Do we have it here? I think we have 75 by 75. No, we don't have it there, and we can check a different family. And if I minimize that, and I come somewhere here and check that, and it seems we have it here, 75 by 75 by 6 millimeter thickness. Then I'll go ahead and click apply that. So I'll go ahead and click apply here. And once I've given it an okay, I give it an okay, everything changes to 75 by 75, but our point is still intact. Now, I'm going to get rid of the middle frames here because you don't need these ones here. Don't need these ones, so we can offset this toward inward by approximately 500 to make it 2.5 millimeter. So I can just go ahead on the direction of y-axis. So I have to check the orientation first, because I don't want just to populate it without taking into account the location of the XYZ plane. Now once I've selected that, I'll right click and come to special copy here, and I'll give it an okay. Then I'll reset everything, then come to a z-axis. So I just feed in here 500 to make it 2.5, and I'll prefix this dimension with a negative sign because we are moving against the we are moving against the y-axis. So once I've done so, I'll go ahead and delete the previous one and delete that. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Let me just select on that, right click and come to special copy here and pick on linear. So under linear, on the same direction y-axis, I'm going to remove the negative sign because we're moving on the positive direction of y-axis. So if I do that, I'll be able to close, then delete the initial one there. So I'm going to just take into account, prior to that, we have our brackets that will be holding our frame will have one at this point, and jump ahead and have one at that point, then have one at the utmost top here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just come here and check the orientation, or how, if we begin connection or bolting together this steel frame, will it be harder to do, or I mean, in other words, will it be inconveniencing because of the location and the position of our steel members? So if you take a look here, this one can frame into this, by maybe a plate connection, or maybe a brace connection right there. That is not an issue. Then this framing to this will be somehow hectic, so it has to move the other end, and we'll place a washer in between them and bolt them together from that side. So we have to take this back. So also there's another way that another way should not inconvenience how this frames to this. So we have to take this back behind it. So I'll press Control Q, and take it by and rotate it like that, and give it a W, so that has gone back. So in between we can place a washer of a plate, maybe of 6 millimeter, then we bolt it together like that. Same here, and same on the other end. Let me press Control D, and we can bolt another one there, and bolt another by placing a washer inside there. So this the same way, and also we have to reorient this one also. I'll press Control Q and Control W, and that's all. Now if I come to the top here, I want to trim this to this level. I don't need it to go, let it go all the way to top there. It is unnecessary. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to trim it off, cut it off at this surface, at this end here. So I'm going to select it, and then come to edit. Once I come to edit, I'll come to frame edit, and come to break frame. So to break the frame, I'll press Control and just mouse over on the location I intend to break it or from, and then click on that spot. So there we are. If I select on that, you'll be able to see I've actually trimmed it off. So I can go ahead and delete that. And also I can mirror this, or I can just do a similar thing on the other end, though I'll mirror it. So let me just turn that round. Let me just turn that round and do the same thing here. I'll come to break edit frame from edit. Then we'll be able to get this tool here. I'll break frame, then pick the frame you want to break, press Control, then we can snap on that location right there accurately. Just give it some time to pick the point, then we'll pick on that spot. So the frame has been picked, and we can go ahead and delete it. It's because so I'll right click and click interrupt, then I can be able to turn that round, and we have this in place. So I can always just go to delete that. Then I'll select on that, right click and come to spatial copy, and let me check whether I still have my mirror in place. Exactly, I have my mirror in place, so I just go ahead and click mirror and close that. So I have this in place. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a member and join it with that. So let me just enable the joints so that I'll be able to see the joints here. These are the joints that when you try to create a connection, Common System will be able to detect that there's a joint. This is a joint, this is a joint, this is a joint. So there's a joint here. So we want to create another joint from this to brace it to this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to steel, then come to beam, then I'll just snap on the joint right there. Just snap on the joint and go all the way to this joint right there, and just snap right there. So we have a member right there. So you have to give it an orientation that will not inconvenience the connection when begin creating connections. So let me just select on that, then press Control Q, so we can turn that round into a position that will able to uh, help us or make our connection a little bit easier. So let me just turn that round and turn it round, and if I pick on that, press Control W and press Control W, and let me just press E, and that is okay. So we have that in place. So I can always come here and do the same thing at the bottom end here. Then the rest I will just have to mirror and create similar thing like that. So I'll come to that spot and snap on that spot and snap on that joint right there. So we have that in place. So let's first of all check which member size is this, because we didn't pick it, we didn't assign it as a default member. So I think it's still 80 by 80, but the rest 75 by 75. So what we're going to do, we are going to double click it. So this is 75 by 75. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select on this, then press Control and double click on the last one. Then when the dialog box comes here, we will be able to change it to 75 by 75, or we can just type it here, 75 by 75. 75 by 75 by 6 mm. So that's it. So if we come here, we can make it a default member. So if we click apply and give it an OK. So if you come back here and double click on it once again, we'll be able to see that we have it as a default member. So let me just give it some time. So this is still 75 by 75, which should not be the right thing we are doing. Now, let me just double click here. So the moment I double click there, I want just to copy this and paste it whenever I select on this. Let me just select that, right click and come to copy and close this. So the moment I pick on that, I'll be able to select on this, then select on this, then double click on this. So I'll wait for the dialog box to come, then I'll just paste this L shift here, then just click apply, then set as a default, just click apply. So once I've done so, and come here, double click on that once again, just give it some time here, and just give it some time to load everything. So this is 75 by 75. Now I want to make it a default member. So whenever I create a member, I'll be defaulting on 75 by 75. So another thing is here, as we did previously, we should reorient this member so that when we start creating connection, it will not be inconveniencing us or making our connection, making the process of creating connection here much hectic. So if I turn that around like that, I'll be able to see I have these in place. So I can always rotate this. Let me just, the rotation is okay. Let me just rotate that, click on that spot, rotate that. First of all, let me check whether this should be similar to this, or instead of doing a guesswork right there, we can either mirror this, but I would prefer we do it the same way as we did it here. We just select on that, press Control, and we have that in place, and we can always select on that, then press Control W, turn on that, then select on that once again and press Control E once again, and we have that in place. So that is an exact location. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just select on that, then right click and come to special copy, then pick on mirror. My mirror line is still in place, and you can go ahead and click run. So the moment you run on that, we have the member in place. So another thing we want to do is just to maybe place another member here, just to prevent this frame from sagging or wobbling. We can always we can come at the midpoint here, just mouse over at the midpoint here, just mouse over at the midpoint there, and if we want to frame another one here, let's just mouse over on that spot. We can frame another one here, and just give it some time, and we can frame another member right there. We can also come to the bottom end here, and we frame from this point, frame it from the bottom end here. Let me just bring it closer. Just mouse over this spot here so that you get the midpoint. Just give some time to snap on that spot, and we have to snap on this particular point here. So the moment I do that, I'll be able to create another member right there. So you can see we've framed on that, and we've framed here. So we have this a little bit rigid and very strong. So with lesser steel. Now, this is how you can define or create a frame. So the supporting brackets we'll do later on, and I'll also show you how we can create connection of all these frames. So thanks a lot. Let's meet then on the next presentation. Bye bye.